So you're blissfully playing Call of Duty 6, the latest installment in the series, enjoying the true AAA graphics, and then, in a very common occurrence of a AAA programming quality, the game crashes with a DirectX error saying that DirectX encountered an unrecoverable error, and then continuing to say that your GPU is overclocked and you should remove that overclock from the GPU. Not long ago, I made a video with suggestions how you can resolve this issue, and this is a follow-up video based on the comments I got under that original video. I didn't really want to make this follow-up video, since every solution suggested in the comments will probably age as fine milk, since most probably either Windows or the game or the firmware of your motherboard will be patched and anything I say in this video will be obsolete and irrelevant. However, one viewer in particular suggested that my video was a complete waste of time since it didn't fix an issue on his or her specific hardware, and 3 weeks later he continues to suggest that the owner of this channel, that is me, should be actually helping people, okay? So I, the owner of the channel, must help people. If you are new to the internet this week, I would like to remind you that I am a stranger on the internet who is trying to help you for free. My videos are free, YouTube is free, no one charges you for anything, thus there is no guarantee, and moreover, no one owes you anything. With that out of the way, I really appreciate when the viewers generally leave comments, good and bad, both of them, under my videos, and also if they do know a solution, they are highly encouraged not to be silent about that, but rather share those solutions with others, for example in the comment section under my videos. So let's have a look at them. The viewers highlighted two main things that may be causing the issue. The first one is the build of Windows. Even when you have a certain version of Windows, Windows 11 for example, during its life cycle it changes builds. For example, the most recent update was from Windows 11 23H2 to Windows 11 24H2. And this is a massive update. It's not those security patches or some other minor updates, it's a massive overhaul of the entire operating system. It usually happens once a year, maybe once in 2 years, and this is basically a new operating system. And the correct way to install a new operating system is to have an installation media, a thumb drive, with a new Windows installer, and then completely nuke everything you have on your PC. You keep nothing. So you remove everything from your system drive at least, and then proceed to have a fresh install of Windows. That is the only way to make sure no old Windows files come into your newly installed system, and at least you will not have problems caused by those old files. Resetting the Windows to factory settings should be illegal. Installing Windows, keeping your old files, which is an option in Windows Installer, should be illegal, and updating existing Windows through Windows Update to a new Windows build should also be illegal. Well, you personally can update Windows in whatever way you want if the end result is not important to you. And that is probably what most users did. They just received an over-the-air update to their existing system and moved through Windows 11 previous build 23H2 for example to the new 24H2. So if the error started to appear after a massive Windows update, you will need to either complete a fresh install of Windows, deleting the old system entirely. So you take a 24H2 installation media, boot from it, install Windows deleting everything from your drive, and after the installation is complete, you will have a fresh reinstalled Windows, and obviously you will need to reinstall all drivers, all programs, all games, and get your personal files from a backup, which you should be keeping anyways. That's the best way to go. Another way is to roll back updates. I have never in my life rolled Windows back, and I have no idea how to do that because I have no plans to do that in my life. However, the viewers in the comment suggested that rollback is available in Windows itself for up to 10 days. So within 10 days period, you can roll back 24H2 to, for example, 23H2 or whatever build of Windows you were using prior to the update. And after this 10-day window, you will have to use a third-party utility to do the same. Judging by the comments, rolling back Windows 11 from 24H2 to whatever you had before solved this problem with Call of Duty 6. However, other users still have this error and they don't even run Windows 11 24H2, they may have Windows 11 22H2 or even Windows 10 22H2H3 or whatever. And what they do have in common is Intel processor, and usually a new generation, the 14th generation for example, which actually tells you a story. If in the past 5 years or more you voluntarily wasted your own hard-earned money on an Intel processor when AMD Ryzens exist, there must be something wrong with you. Especially if you continue to insist on the internet that your processor is the best processor ever. Well, if your processor is the best processor ever, why does it crash in Call of Duty 6? Anyway, what this Intel owner wants me to tell the world is that for Intel 14900, you need to download XTU. XTU is Intel Extreme Tuning Utility. And in that utility, change core x57 to x56. Judging by the way this comment is written, the author doesn't know nothing about computers, and he probably found this somewhere online. Anyway, as a courtesy to this viewer, I will briefly explain what it is all about. So basically, in computer processors, you have a base frequency and a multiplier. The base frequency is usually 100 MHz. And when you multiply this by 57, you get 5700 MHz or 5.7 GHz, which is the maximum all-core boost clock for this particular processor Intel 14900. So when you lower this multiplier from 57 to 56, for example, you're actually capping your processor at 5.6 GHz instead of 5.7. So basically you're reducing the clock of the processor, and if this fixes crashes in games, that means that your processor is manufactured garbage. It tries to look better than it is in reality. It was incorrectly binned by Intel, and it should be actually a 5.6 GHz processor instead of 5.7, since it's unstable at 5.7. Why do you have a GPU error if there is a problem with the processor? Well, since the main PCI slot, where you insert your video card, is controlled directly by the processor, if the processor is unstable, the PCI bus also becomes unstable, and that will cause the GPU to also be unstable. Hence the DirectX error. This is a feasible theory. Anyway, if lowering the multiplier really fixes the issue, we can try to do that. The first and obvious way to do so is to use BIOS, the UEFI settings of your motherboard. There are a few manufacturers of motherboards. There are slight differences in the menus of their UEFI BIOS. I will be showing this on a Anus Republic of Gamers UEFI BIOS. There are actually several ways to lower this multiplier in the BIOS settings on this motherboard, and you can do so. However, this will limit the maximum clock of your processor everywhere. If you just want to limit it when you play Call of Duty, maybe you should keep the BIOS intact and instead use this XTU or Intel Extreme Tuning Utility suggested by this viewer. On Intel website, there are two versions of that. One is for Ultra processors only. I personally don't own an Intel, so I had to borrow this Intel computer just for the sake of making this video. and the processor in this particular machine is 14900K. And it also runs Windows 10, not Windows 11. However, if that error is caused by your processor, you will have it in both Windows 11 and Windows 10. So this newer utility doesn't even install on this processor because it is not supported, but there was no problem installing the previous version. In this utility, you can go to advanced mode and configure everything there, or you can use the automatic mode. Since this Intel processor has performance cores and energy efficient cores, which is another idiotic idea from Intel, but anyway, we are only interested in the performance core ratio, leave the efficient cores alone. So here we have 57X, and all we need to do is to lower it by 1 to 56. Then apply the settings and run the game. If it still crashes, lower it by 2 or 3 until it stops crashing. If the multiplier on your particular processor is lower, if it's not 57, if it's 54 for example, you still need to follow the same pattern and lower it by 1, and if the game continues to crash, lower it by 1 more. Again, you can use this utility just before playing Call of Duty. And maybe it also has potential to fix not only Call of Duty, but similar DirectX errors in other games, for example in Battlefield 2042. And it seems to fix the issue, and people are able to play the game for hours and hours without crashes. They will still occur, and even this commenter acknowledges that he still had one crash during the week, but this is much less frequent than it was before, so this seems to be working, at least for him. In fact, this commentator is so sure that his solution is the best, he even recommends it to non-Intel users, who should use the AMD equivalent instead of Intel Extreme Tuning Utility. The AMD equivalent used to be Ryzen Master, which is now discontinued, and the overclocking or downclocking functionality in this case is now part of Radeon Adrenaline. So I take no credit or no responsibility for this solution, I'm just showing it. If it works for you, you can thank him. If it doesn't, you can tell him that it's a waste of time and he should be helping people on the internet.
I'm the god of YouTube!
Like, subscribe, jingle bells.